Copyright, baby.
Hey.
About to get copyrighted. You know how it be.
We got this, boys.
Like we're gonna get copyright strike.
John Cena's gonna come knock on the door, bro.
Like how dare we steal that 1 cent from him? 1 cent in revenue from this video.
Nah, he seems like a nice guy. I don't think he'll mind.
Bing chilling.
Bing chilling.
John Cena, if you wanna come through, get me some Bing chilling. How about that?
Some Bing chilling ice cream. What's up? Yeah, man.
You know what actually happens with these
Bing
copyright strikes kind of thing? Like there are companies just made for this thing. They search for videos on YouTube that
You'll never find our video.
that might have some copyrighted material, and then they just strike it to get all the revenue, all the ad revenue from the video.
That must be so cringe. Imagine working for a copyright company.
Yeah, no,
It's
fuck that.
it's the production companies that do this.
Cringe.
So the artists don't even know that your video is getting
Eesh.
copyright strike.
Yeah.
Yo, I want to say how much I respect and like what you guys are doing with this thing. It's so much fun. It's such a nice thing to do, where you can just talk your minds on certain topics.
But
So,
not entirely, I'm
not
afraid.
everything.
No, I'm kidding. I have a purely...
Pure intentions, pure heart.
Why?
No, not just that. My mind is pure mainstream, okay? I love Instagram. I'm always on Instagram, bro. I get my news from Political Pen.
This guy is very sarcastic.
I love eating McDonald's. McDonald's is my favorite.
Do you
What
feel?
else?
Do you feel there are topics that you guys can't talk about on this podcast?
Do I feel like there are topics that I can't talk about on this podcast?
Or you
That's
feel
the actual
hesitant?
question.
Or you feel hesitant
Oh
to
my
talk
God.
about?
There are so many topics that we can't really talk about.
Like
Yeah.
what?
We've
Let's start talking about them.
we've had multiple episodes on like maybe Lebanese politics, but we tried to shy away.
We can't
from
talk about mouth breathers. We have to hide our... No, I'm
We
kidding.
had an episode lined up where we wanted to talk about a corruption in a certain ministry in the Lebanese government, and it was like we'd go down. Or
We had
we'd
an
go
insider.
deep. We had an insider in everything, and they had details on details of what was going on inside the ministry.
And I think they were willing to talk.
Yeah,
But they're just a bit crazy.
yeah, they're a bit crazy. We are not.
And yeah, I think it would have
Caused us a lot of
ended our whole career.
I mean, if it's the career that you guys work in, it would make sense, because it's not in your interest. Maybe after you leave the country.
Not even because because
if you leave the country or something.
Yeah.
if a political figure
Yeah, just pointed us out and wanted to,
one of us gone, basically, it would happen.
I think that's a bit of a stretch, man. I think what is everyone talks about
all
the
50
corruption.
people are
Like,
gonna...
who would have what corruption in this country? What? No way. You're
No,
lying.
but
You're
But
lying
when
to
you
me,
can
bro.
name names and you can
when
name
you're talking in
actions,
specifics,
Yeah.
that's when
Yeah.
detailed,
detailed accounts and everything that was going on.
But hey, on a more serious note, bro, I heard Mu'taz tore 2 ligaments in his arm. Yeah, did you hear that?
And his left
Yeah,
arm.
man, it was terrible, man. What a
Yeah.
serious accident.
What a serious accident.
Bro, the guy was
Cool.
playing laser tag. and and he tore 2 ligaments in his arm, bro. You think he was at the gym, you think he was in a fight, and he tore a ligament, bro. He's doing laser tag.
When he told me, I'm like, what? How did you hold the gun, bro?
My wrist was an ulnar deviation, guys. So I tore my TFCC and my scapholonate ligament.
Hey, let's give the guy some credit, bro. It was 10 kids attacking him,
You
in
just
laser
lost
tag.
some viewers, right? Right
That's-
there, and there.
Laser tag is a fun game to play, to be honest with
It's
you.
very
It's so
fun.
much fun.
True.
It's so much fun, man.
And your boy over here is the biggest camper.
He's the biggest camper in
Biggest
laser tag.
camper.
Hey, shut up, losers.
Bro.
And
This is
the
what
number-
happens when
This-
you get killed 20 times, bro. You start saying... next thing he's gonna say is I'm hacking in laser tag.
Laser tag.
I have aimbot in laser
Yo,
tag, bro.
Proof.
One shot kill, baby. You know
Like,
me.
you're guilty until proven innocent. So give us proof, hey.
Proof. I played so hard. I tore 2 ligaments. That's how hard I played.
True,
That's all the
true.
proof
That's
you
a
need.
good one.
IQ.
Yeah. Is there anything else?
Do you have laser tag in London?
Yo, shut the fuck up. But I don't know, man. Maybe I mean, it would be cool to talk about the future of Lebanon, man, and what we think. Do you guys think?
or lack
you
of.
guys- yeah, right. Do you guys
Since
think?
your predictions, predictions are actually accurate.
Pretty accurate. Yeah.
Care to make a new prediction, a new, let's say, economic prediction on what's
New
gonna
prediction
happen.
just dropped on Oriental Scoop. New prediction.
Right now.
New prediction, bro.
I think, man, truly, like, I love this country with all my heart, but I don't think there's any hope in the near future, like, whatsoever, at all.
How
like,
near
at all.
is the
Bro,
future?
10 years, man, at least 5 years.
Yeah.
Like, there's
Michel
no,
Hayek on Lebanon's economy.
man, nothing at
Oh,
all.
we're doing like a New Year's episode right now.
This is
so-
a New Year's
Yo, this is a
episode.
New Year's
New Year
episode.
episode
This
just
is
dropped.
Salam just dropping his predictions.
Yeah,
for
man, for
2023.
2023.
Yeah. But for what it's worth,
I see the dollar rising.
vague but accurate.
No, man, I think, like, I think for there to be change, and this is like not like crazy stuff that has been said. Like, there needs to be like some serious like some
Reform.
some
Some
serious
serious
like
reform.
economic reforms done. But no one wants to do these reforms because it like hurts the country so much more, and it puts the country into so much shit. And because it's so sectarian, like no one wants to harm their own party in doing so.
Yeah.
But and like it's never gonna be done, and like there needs to be like some really 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 big reforms. I think it's completely terrible. Like, man, like who would have thought, man, that like lira would go up to like whatever it is now, 45k. So funny, man. Every day it's like بس قد lira اليوم. It changes, if it's
I
40 or
remember,
45. Like it's insane.
The U.S. Department of something, I don't know what exactly, was
Department of cringe.
putting some kind of prediction of what the Lebanese lira is gonna reach, and then I remember the number 50k for the,
Yeah, and
for
we
the
thought it
dollar.
was crazy.
Yeah, I thought it was crazy at the time.
And
Yeah,
look,
man.
the year isn't even over.
Yeah, no.
It's almost over.
Yeah.
But just to note, it reached around 47 thou, and now there is just like the lira rate dropped to 42 just because of how many people came from abroad. And I
No,
think
that's not true. There
What
was
else?
a new circular
And-
something
and
about
this, yeah.
something about the new Sarafa rate, or I don't know what
side
it
of
was.
rate went down to 38 thou, and you can buy as
No,
much
42. It went down to 42.
42, and you can buy as many as you many lira
But
as you
that's
want.
the crazy thing is, in my mind, I thought that everyone would come from abroad and they'd basically use up all their dollars over here buying gifts, going to restaurants.
And people are doing that. That's the thing.
People are doing
And that
that.
wasn't enough to stop
No, I
the.
think it was enough, but there's something fishy is going on behind the scenes.
It's definitely not enough, man, because like how much money does once like all like the expats, how much money would they bring in? Like $1 billion, man. Like the whole in the government's books is like not 1 billion, it's 150 billion, or it's like it's 150 billion, or like it's more, it's I think it's $250 billion of assets in banks, right? Like it's nothing, man. Like how much people are spending every day, as much expat money as you bring in. This is not like, it doesn't fill the hole, it doesn't fill like the economic hole in this country, man. Like it just doesn't, it's impossible. It's such a big problem, and it goes so much deeper. It's not like this expat money has been something that like Lebanese government relies on for fresh dollars for so long, but it doesn't solve the problem. Pre-crisis, it used to put a band-aid on the problem because you just had this inflow of like foreign cash coming in, like $6 billion a year, I think the number was, which is like decent back then, but it's impossible to actually like solve the issues in the country with that type of money. It's so much deeper than that. It's like, it's more than that. Like, how can you bring in like actual investment into the country?
What?
Yeah,
What
like
is,
that's
what's that?
What
yeah,
are you
man,
saying,
It's
bro?
impossible. It's impossible. But then you see, new places like Swiss Butter, bro, opening
Swiss
new
Butter.
branches.
No, I'm sorry, bro. I'd rather borrow money from the IMF
Yeah.
and increase our loans.
If you
No,
made
man, the thing is, like,
decent
this-
reforms, and
Yeah,
I think
100%,
so.
right? Like,
It's better than
it's not bad.
what
Like,
we have
bro,
going
it's not
on,
like and this was the option. Like, yeah, we should borrow money from the IMF, but like if you're the IMF, it's like, all right, we'll give you money, but like if we do, you need to make like serious reforms in the country so we know that like we're
You
gonna
can
get
give
our
it back.
Yes, you can give it back, and that like actual changes are gonna be made in the country. It's not.
And they
it's never
couldn't
gonna
even
happen.
achieve that.
It's not. So like, I mean, حتى إذا بتشوف إنه صار الصرف in like in the 80s during Civil War,
It was
pre,
stable.
huh?
It was pretty stable.
Man, in the 60s, I mean, Lebanon had one of like the strongest currency exchange rates. It was like 3 liras to the dollar. By 1982, I think it went up to 3.5 or like 3,000 lira to the dollar or something, which is like, from 1.5 or from 3 liras to 3,000. That's a thousand-fold increase. Like, it was insane, and it was changing so much every single day. It's terrible.
So what I understood is your prediction is $1 is going to reach 1 million.
Like, who knows, bro? But it's not good.
Even then, I remember my parents told me that economically Lebanon was doing way better back then than it was during this crisis, because what was happening is every single party was receiving money from abroad. Every country was sending its own like proxies here in Lebanon, money, weapons, and it was relatively stable. You could still find everything that you wanted in terms of goods
Yeah.
in Lebanon, but right now there is basically no money being funneled into Lebanon.
No, it's terrible. One thing, like when you look at, let's say, crypto exchange platforms and what are like the largest countries that are exchanging like their local currencies for crypto, like, you know, some of them just for like arbitrage, and then some of them to actually like exchange and use their money. It's countries that have very unstable exchange rates. Countries like Turkey, for example, like they're one of like the largest users of like, you know, crypto exchanges. And it just shows like how much like there's gonna be this trend to move towards crypto in the future, even if like, you know, there's short-term fluctuations and it's very volatile at the moment, like where like, you know, it's up and down and stuff, and like, oh, but like how can you use a currency like this? It's more like, okay, what's gonna be the use case in 10 years? Is it gonna be something that people can actually use and like save and invest their money in? Yeah, it is gonna be. And yeah, this is like my prediction. Like crypto is like the way that the world is moving, and it's like this opportunity at the moment where like every like century or every like half century there's like a change in like the financial system. Like there's a big change in like the financial markets and just like, you know, how the world works. In the 70s it was like, you know, they removed they removed the peg of the dollar from the gold standard, where like the dollar was tied to the price of gold, right, at a fixed rate.
Was that when the U.S. government just outlawed having gold, the private citizens just owning gold, and they commandeered everyone's gold?
All like many countries used to put their gold in the US, but like what it was that, you know, whenever you want you can go bring in like, if you, I forget the rate, I forget what the exact rate was, but like the gold standard when it's pegged means like you can exchange your money for gold. So you know that whatever like the case, you can give back your US dollars and you will get like a physical asset that can back your wealth. Right now it's not like this. Now it's just called fiat currency, and fiat currency means
Backs itself.
Fiat, I think it means something like so it goes, which just means that, you know, if everyone agrees that something has a value,
It is what it is.
yeah, it's like, right, it is what it is currency. It's just like, it's just the agreement that if something has a value, then like that thing does have a value. And that kind of what it is with like everything. Like same thing with crypto. If people are using crypto to actually buy and sell things, then it does actually have a value. If people are trading it, it doesn't matter if people agree with it.
The difference between crypto and the dollar would be that there is a finite amount of crypto out there versus the dollar, right?
There's a finite amount of Bitcoin out there.
Bitcoin,
I don't know.
sorry.
I don't know
Not
about
every
it.
crypto,
Right?
but
Yeah.
Bitcoin.
Right. Like Bitcoin is like is programmed to be limited at 21 million Bitcoins. You can't have more than 21 million. Kind of like gold in a sense, right? And with money, there's three use cases of money. Money needs to be a unit of account, a medium of exchange, and a unit of account, a medium of exchange.
Straight out of the textbook.
Yeah, and like unit of account, medium of exchange, and fucking one more thing. A unit of account means that it needs to have a fixed value, so you know that like this good is worth $1 or 1 Bitcoin. If it's like 0.056 and it changes every day, right? Like, so for example, Lebanese lira is probably not even a unit of account anymore, because it changes so much that it can't be actually used as a unit of account. So much so that restaurants are putting prices in dollars. It's not a unit of account anymore. So you need to have like the three goals of money to make money worthwhile. With crypto, and a savings and a form of savings, right? So that's the third one, way to save your money. Bitcoin could be used as a way to save your money, right? Because it's gonna generally appreciate and maintain its value in the long term. But can it be used as a unit of account? Probably not. There's other forms of cryptocurrencies.
Why not? Because the value changes.
It's so volatile, right? It's so volatile that it can't really be used as a currency to buy and sell things. I mean, they do on the dark web and everything, but it's so volatile that day to day, you probably don't want to have Bitcoin and just buy and sell things with
Is
it, right?
as volatile as the Lebanese lira?
There's something called the beta, which shows like the volatility of an asset. I
Who's
don't
the
know.
beta, bro?
I don't know like how, but it is quite volatile right now. Like over the past year or two, or the past year probably, cryptocurrencies have been less volatile than before. But to deal with this, they've made something called stable coins. A stable coin is like its word. It's a currency, or it's a cryptocurrency that's pegged to a basket of goods. It's pegged to like so many assets like currencies, gold, and many other things. So it's pegged. So like let's say one stable coin, or like whatever it is, like there's one called Tether, is pegged. So like one Tether coin is pegged to the US dollar, is equal to $1. So you can use this in many ways, in like many interesting ways. So there's gonna be this world that like where you're gonna be using probably many different types of cryptocurrencies to do many different things. It's really interesting. Like it's a huge like shift in like the way we're gonna live as well, for sure. So I do wholeheartedly believe in the future of crypto and decentralized assets. And then it's like, oh well, what if you wanna do something like, but what about like, so there's decentralized, but also like governments are gonna come and make their own forms of cryptocurrencies. Like all government money is gonna be moved to something called the CBDC, or a central bank digital currency, which is crypto, but it's not decentralized, it's centralized through the bank. So if let's say, and it can be used for all these cool ways, but they can also track exactly what you're doing. And you can do crazy stuff. Like let's say there's not enough like inflation in the country, it's way too low. What you can do as a government is you can just create this money and put it in everyone's wallets and say, okay, you guys need to spend this money this week.
Yo, I smell stimulus checks.
100%. Or like stimulus checks, for example, like like we had to apply online for a stimulus check and all this stuff, and you need to do all these forms. It would just be sent into your wallets. But let's say even if there's an earthquake in some part of the world, and like that country has a CBDC, and you need relief checks for the people that are affected, you can just transfer them all money into their wallets in that way.
But doesn't the opposite ring true?
100%. There's some bad shit like, okay, if a government can do that, like what if they can also demotivate you from purchasing things that they don't want you to purchase, like cigarettes, or what if you're fat and like they don't want you to like like
What
right,
if
because you
your
have so much.
social credit score is low, so
100%.
you can't buy anything anymore.
100%.
Well, sorry.
Or they have so much
Or-
data on you. They have so much data that they can actually like start knowing like exactly what your spending habits are, what you're spending your money on,
And then
what they want you to
getting
do.
ads tailored to you and your spending habits. Man, that's all crazy. That's
We really do live in a twilight world.
But it could be that, right? It's like two sides of the coin. It could be that, but it could also be like many different like forms of that too. It doesn't always have to be like a negative, or it won't necessarily be negative. Like you may get it in China, which is like a more authoritarian state, right? Yeah.
I'm just gonna add one more thing, which I think is interesting for the future. The new currency that China, Russia, Brazil, what are these like countries called? They want to do this kind of currency that's like independent from the US dollar.
Yeah.
So like a new shared currency, kind of like the euro.
Mhm.
It's gonna be like pegged to certain goods or maybe natural resources.
Mhm.
So what they're trying to do is just decouple themselves from the US dollar.
Mhm.
So maybe that would be interesting in the sense that we won't have one centralized, one main currency in the world, rather many separate currencies.
And this is a very go ahead.
Guys, quick interruption. The Oriental Scoop getting clout.
What?
Someone
What?
took a pic of
No
us
way.
filming and sent
How
it to
is
me.
this?
Well, where are they?
Who is this? That's crazy.
Like I'll put the picture.
That's
up.
crazy. It's an interesting topic, man. Like Will.
Oriental Scoop getting famous, bro.
Getting famous from across the building. It's really interesting if like the topic of is like, will the US dollar still be like the world's reserve currency?
Inshallah.
Yeah.
That means God willing. Don't take offense to what I just.
Yeah.
So I think the most important thing that's holding up the dollar right now is the US petrodollar. Once that falls, then I think the US
Which will be never.
depends, but if that falls, then I think we're gonna be seeing some very major changes.
There's a very like this is one thing, and there's also, for example, there's no country in the world that has such a large quantity of stable bonds that countries can park their wealth in. The US is the largest supplier of government bonds to the world by far. It's not even comparable. And one of the reasons is because many companies can't take that type of debt. It's, I forget the word for it, but it's a power that's only yielded by like the US. And this is like one of the most important things, like why people use the dollar as well. Any central bank, for example, that holds US dollars, they hold it in US Treasury bonds. No other country in the world can supply such a large amount of treasury bonds to the world. And
But I
this is a
think
big factor that holds
that
the
has
US
to do
economy
with the
up.
confidence of
The confidence of the US dollar, the confidence that all financial
in the US
markets,
dollar and in the US government.
in the US government, the confidence that all financial markets are centered in the US.
Yes.
And it's
true,
almost
true.
impossible in the short term to change that. Like just when you see the clout and the strength, like in the US banking system, in the US economy,
Yeah.
just like when you like see like where are all like the technological changes and like advancements happening in the world, like it's the US. Like it's not even close, like what a powerful country. And it's so crazy because if like you can't find a country or a place in the world that's better secure, like if you looked at the world map and you had to draw borders and you had to think where's the best place to have a country, it's the US. Like it's where the US is. It's this massive country that's like endowed with
Shout out to the British.
Oh yeah.
Shout out to the British who founded America and then
Right? I mean,
lost it.
Yeah, the East Coast, like such a big country that's endowed with so much natural resources. They're the largest gas producer in the world now because of fracking, like largest gas producer ever. And they're surrounded by these two massive oceans, which means no one can ever attack them, ever, because like the logistics,
Doesn't make sense.
like the logistics that you need to cross two oceans is insane. Just like the English Channel, like for the Germans during World War II, to even cross this like small English Channel is impossible.
And now with the advent of the Ukrainian-Russian war and the basically the halt of all Russian gas into Europe, who do you think has stepped up to fill the gap for the Russian for the European gas supply?
I'm not.
The US.
Really?
Yeah, the US has been shipping through the sea like massive amounts of
What?
gas. They've been
You can ship gas through the sea,
liquefied.
Liquefied
the
natural
ocean.
gas. Liquefied natural gas.
through the ocean, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Liquefied natural gas. Do you know which country is the largest
I think it's
supplier of liquefied natural gas?
LNG.
Qatar. Largest supplier of liquefied natural gas in the world.
Also
by
one
far.
of the smallest countries.
Smallest countries, huge
Crap.
gas reserves. But
Shout
like,
out to our bros that made the best World Cup.
yeah.
True.
But
Big shout
But
out.
liquefied natural gas is also very expensive. It's more expensive, and like the way to ship, the process is so long because you need these huge tankers that can keep the gas, like that can. I don't understand how it is, but you need to switch it to like a gaseous form, and then you need these huge cold chambers.
Oh, by the way,
And
I
the
think
ship.
I'm gonna separate these two episodes into two episodes.
Yeah, I think so. One about the.
Because we're gonna go into 30 minutes now, and we've been recording for around an hour.
Like-
this ain't ending.
The way you were describing now what you need, it sounded like a Joe Rogan monologue. These huge,
Yeah, man. They're these huge like.
big gorillas.
Yeah, man. Like liquefied
You
natural
ever
gas
seen a
is
gorilla,
crazy.
bro?
It's crazy, man. They're these huge, like the largest ships in the world are LNG ships, and they're over like 400 meters long. They're just
I
so
wonder how
fucking.
much they displace.
Bro,
How
they're
much
they're
they displace.
they're so massive, and liquefied natural gas, you liquefy it, and then once it reaches the facility, the very expensive multi-billion-dollar facility that you're shipping it to, they then like turn it back into its other form, which like
It's
gives
gas.
you like, I don't know the number, like some like 1,000 times more than what's actually like on the ship when you do that.
Can you-
Because the volume
yeah.
of gas is.
But it's a more expensive form of like gas.
Can
if
you
yeah,
wanna
you know
use-
why?
imagine?
It's
Because you have to use ships. You have to liquefy it and then take
There's
it
a
across
lot,
the ocean, versus just pumping it through pipelines. and it gets
Can you
to-
imagine how cheap natural gas is that they are willing to do all this expensive process to ship it so far abroad, and then that country that's still buying it is still making a good deal for its
You
energy.
mean how much it was cheap?
Yeah, that's crazy.
It was.
And then you have some video that you get somewhere of some Central Asian country, and then they have just a burning hole in the ground.
Uh-huh.
I think it was Kazakhstan or somewhere.
Yeah.
They have an
Tajikistan.
yeah.
Yeah.
Tajik,
Yeah. But I think that was because like they accidentally lit it on fire
Yeah.
once, and then
It just
there's
keeps
just so
burning.
much gas inside
That
that
didn't
hole
never stop
that it just
burning.
can't stop
Was
burning.
it the one with the underground case filled with gas and it's just eternally burning?
Yeah.
Eternally
underground?
burning.
Yeah, that's a very interesting one.
I'd live next to it, maybe, honestly.
Bro, and even in
Free, you get free. You cook your food for free. you put
and even in
food
like
on.
places in like Saudi and like I don't know about now, but like
Yeah, I
there used
saw
to
a
be
video
places
from-
where like oil just used to bubble up
Yeah,
from the ground.
I saw a recent video about that. I think it was in Iraq.
Yeah, man, it just
Someone
bubbles
was
up in
digging
some
and then
places.
yeah, you just
bubbles
call
up.
it the black gold or something.
In the US, they do something else called fracking, which is like they put these like pipes like all the way down,
And then I don't know.
and then they like shoot water inside, which like I don't know how it works, but it like they shoot water down, and it just like they remove the sediment
And then
and
they
they
suck it back
extract
up,
and they
right.
extract the oil.
So
Well, I know it pollutes the environment
yeah.
in such a
My sister
disgusting way.
did her PhD related to this topic, by the way.
Terrible.
You know, some people like actually live next to like these fracking installations, and what they end up happening is they have
Drink, like,
water coming from out from
shitty
their
water.
sinks. What?
Yeah, they drink shitty water, man.
And then they light the water on fire. Their sink water just catches on fire.
Sounds cool, bro.
Bro, have you seen-
Imagine your water lights on fire. You can cook, you can boil with your water without any heat. You just light
Man,
your.
have you seen that?
I'm kidding,
video?
guys.
Bro, have you
It's
seen
just
that?
a feature of the house.
It's just a
bro.
feature.
Bro, have you seen that video? I saw a video of like an oil rig worker working on an oil rig.
Yeah, I saw
or
that
not,
video.
or maybe on a fracking
And
rig
he
or
was all
something.
oil. And
Bro,
he was,
the dude's like muscular as hell, and then you
moving
see
big
like,
gears.
bro, you see the gears, and he's throwing these huge chains,
Yeah.
and it looks
and
like
pushes a button and then
right,
this
that's
big
a
thing
bang
comes slamming down and
like
it goes
it's
back
and
up.
he's just there, and the movements, it looks like a dance almost.
Yeah.
But like that looks like
You
the
know
most-
he's been doing it for a while.
looks like the most dangerous job in the world. And it's
Yeah.
also why they're paid a lot of money in the US, man.
Yeah.
They're
How
paid
much?
like, bro, like over 150K, like to be an oil.
What
like,
degree
it goes
do you
up so
need?
much more, man. I don't even know
Yeah,
what
man.
you
You
need.
need to
but-
bench 220 then.
yeah, man.
Bench
Actually,
220. You don't have
Actually.
two torn ligaments.
it's crazy. It's some crazy stuff. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, man. The US is endowed with like a lot of resources, like with everything. The best purchase they ever did was Alaska as well,
Yeah.
from like the
True.
Russians, man. It was like this like empty land that had nothing.
Yeah,
at all.
but the Russians are coming back.
The Russians aren't coming back, bro. Oh
They
no,
ain't
I'll tell you
coming.
one.
They ain't going nowhere,
They've
baby.
taken Crimea, which
It doesn't mean
which is
anything.
worth a lot, and they're gonna take like the entire eastern part of Ukraine. That's my prediction for 2023. Honestly.
At what cost?
But that doesn't mean like it's a
Everything.
pretty
Everything.
at like a huge economic cost at like and just like people think like
What
Russia's
about the populace? Like, it's as if their population. I don't know what kind of media they're being exposed to, but as if the Russian population.
bro, yeah, and like the
is
death
okay with
toll
it,
and
or-
like the Russian death toll
Yeah.
from the Ukrainian war is actually huge, and like they it's pretty big, and the reason why they wanted Ukraine is because to have like better defensible borders as well, because it's just all flat land over there. It's all really flat, so you want to control as much as you can, so that you can kind of like funnel yourself and control. So you need to defend less land.
What was it called? The line
Plain,
between the Soviet Union and
The Iron Curtain.
Yes,
Yeah, the Iron Curtain.
that's what they're trying to do, because when Russia, when the Soviet Union dissolved, there was this kind of agreement between the Soviets and NATO that NATO would not expand any further eastwards. And fast forward to 2023, yo bro, Ukraine's gonna join NATO, huh? So, AKA war between Ukraine and Russia.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
but like Russia is not as powerful as it was, and not just this. And like, bro, the Russian economy is like the size of, I think, man, like Saudi, like not even Saudi Arabia, bro. It's a small, like it's a minuscule
Sheesh.
economy, man. Like it's not
It's not
It-
the US, it's not China.
It's yeah, it doesn't like it's pushing above its weight. It's just because they have nuclear weapons, like they can actually talk. Other than that, like because it's a scary thing. If someone has nuclear weapons, they're gonna listen to them. That's the only reason like why they can push above their weight.
Yeah.
But they're not like an economically powerful country, except because like they obviously supply Europe with like most of their natural gas.
So what would you have done instead of Putin?
Well, no, bro. Like I think like there's a view in like politics or like one lens. It's called realism. Yeah, bro, realism.
Yeah, real,
it's
bro.
it's a real like political philosophy of looking at the world, and like realism is the view that there's no like good and bad people in politics. It's that like, bro, it's like playing a game of Risk or whatever. You're gonna do whatever you can to secure the best outcome
Yeah,
for
of
yourself.
course, of
It's
course.
more that. It's not really about like what they usually
Good versus bad.
right. It's not good versus bad. It's not
He's
about
just a good boy.
So,
Right.
So imagine Russia forms this alliance. Let's name it Potato instead of NATO.
potato.
and then
Potato.
and then they go
Potato.
on just I don't know, recruiting all these countries, all these Southern American countries, and they reach Mexico.
You can't.
And
It will
Cuba.
never happen.
I
It will
mean,
never
let's-
happen,
let's
and they
just
don't have
say-
the clout for it, bro. Like Russia, bro. Even when they had Cuba, man, like Cuba was making Russia broke because Russia couldn't like supply this small country with like the money and the resources they needed. man.
They tried sending nuclear weapons over there, and what did the U.S. do? They almost went to war.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
man.
would you blame the Russians for going to war because Ukraine was going to join NATO? I'm just being the devil's advocate over here.
Bro, I think. Well, I mean, they're gonna do what they want to do, but man, like the reason, like why. Well, one of the main reasons why Russia wants Ukraine, and even before that Crimea,
There
is
are so
because
many
of
reasons.
yeah. One main reason that people don't really talk about is something called the Eurasian Steppe, and the Eurasian Steppe is this flat land that goes all the way from Romania through Russia. Down to Kazakhstan, all the way to Mongolia. It's this like completely. It's the vastest. It's the vastest amount of like just flat land in the world.
Yeah.
And like in the past, it has always been used by armies to like move through, just because it's so flat and so easy to navigate.
So they're trying to get a portion of land that's not flat. That's
Right,
what-
I mean, like the best borders.
Aren't we all, bro?
Yo.
Miss me with that flat type B.
The best like the best borders that a country could have are natural borders, which would be like mountains
Ocean.
or rivers or oceans, right?
Yeah.
And when you don't have that, if it's just flat land, it's actually very hard to defend.
Yeah, you can't defend.
So when you look at like the Russian border, like the actual Russian border, it's very flat and it's so wide and long that it's very hard to defend. Once you reach Ukraine, it gets funneled a bit because there's mountains on
Yeah.
each side. So you want to reach Ukraine because rather than defending this much land, you're defending that much
But
land.
I think it goes even deeper than that, because Ukraine has gas. They found gas fields in the Black Sea that is on their part of the borders in the Black Sea. So that's one. They have a lot of wheat. They grow a lot of wheat grain, especially in the eastern part of Ukraine. So I think they're one of the biggest suppliers of wheat in the world.
So is Russia.
So is Russia.
So is Russia.
imagine-
Russia's the largest. Russia's the largest. But it's like more like man, like it's interesting also to view things from like a geopolitical lens, because that's really like it's like a game of Risk, in a sense, because that's what it's like really about. But that's not what they talk about, right? You can't hear like Putin saying we need to go like conquer because we want to have more
Yeah,
easily
I don't think
defensible
it will,
borders, right? It doesn't
won't justify the
click,
deaths.
man. It doesn't click.
Yeah.
Like you need like another cause, you need a just cause, something that you're fighting for. And like there's all these other strategic reasons, but like this is a big strategic reason. One reason why they want Crimea is because they want to protect a port called Sevastopol,
Yeah.
and like Crimea is like it covers it, so like you kind of need it. It's a really good base of operations as well. So like there's all of these like geopolitical reasons why. But yeah, man.
Now what I heard is for what's gonna happen in Ukraine is soon after New Year's.
2023 predictions.
Yeah, 2023.
2023.
Well, man,
2023.
I wish this episode can go on even further. We'd make an episode just about 2023 predictions. But my prediction for the war is the Russians are waiting for the mud in Ukraine to freeze for their winter.
To build their
offensive.
brick huts.
And what I've been reading is around they've mobilized about 500,000 troops. That's not a small number. They call it a partial mobilization, but is it really a partial?
I think it's the entire mobilization.
That's a full mobilization force. And once they start moving in, I don't think anyone's gonna be able to stop the Russians.
But the difference is, even if it's that many people, this mobilization, number one, they're bringing people that don't want to fight, right? So first, like, they brought in all like the trained troops and everything, and those were gone, right? Now with this new wave of mobilization, they're bringing people from villages, from Eastern Russia, not even volunteers, right? Like, it's like, what's the word? Conscription, right? They're being conscripted with zero training. They probably get training for a week or a month, and then they're like thrown into the battlefield.
I think around maybe 1 or 2 months.
Right?
Maybe
Versus
probably
people,
bad equipment, by
right?
the way.
Right, very bad equipment versus people that are fighting for their homeland. So that's the difference. It's hard to fight for an abstract ideology.
And well-equipped.
Well-equipped from like
But
Western armies.
You have to put
Versus a country that like is like it's a lot easier to fight for your life and for your land than it is to fight for an abstract
That is
ideology.
very, very true, and I agree with you.
It's the same thing, for example, you know, let's say with Israel and Lebanon, you can have a country that's a lot better equipped that are coming into like, you know, into Lebanon. But if you're defending your land and your family and your life,
You won't leave.
Man,
You won't
like
leave.
you're gonna rather die and fight to the last person rather than, you know, lose until like they actually leave.
I think we should maybe end this episode now, but I'm sure that we are going to make another episode. We're gonna call this one like the Bois Banter.
Boys
with the boys, Oriental school.
So
Economy,
we have already
soy.
part 1, part 2, and we're gonna,
Monsanto. Monsanto. I'm looking at
Next
No, I'm
episode,
kidding.
Monsanto grain.
next episode, Newton hats just dropped, bro.
We should do one where we wear like funky clothes or like that's I don't fucking know.
Or we smoke.
Where we wear tin
cardamom.
hats.
Smoke Zata, bro.
alright,
Yeah, man.
everyone.
It's been a fun episode.
very fun.
2 episodes. I think it should be 2 episodes for
It's
sure.
It's gonna be 2 episodes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna maybe divide.
The further into the episode, the more, the crazier, the more disheveled we got.
So I'm gonna divide it first. The first part.
Next episode, hinged or unhinged.
So the first part is the first maybe 30 or 40 minutes.
Tinder or chicken tender. Next episode. Bumble or stay humble. Like good ideas.
You should put this at the start of the podcast. Put this as the intro.
Like
Let's
4th
write these
episode.
down. Let's write these down.
4th episode.
Oh my
No.
god, no more, you're cutting this off.
Yo, beep.